Thank you very much for joining us. Now, some $40 million worth of medication stuck at the Tema port is expected to be cleared later today. The containers had been at the port since August 2023 and hold antiretrovirals, tuberculosis drugs and malaria medicines. President of the National Association of Persons Living with HIV, Elsie Aye, shared her frustrations with us earlier. Listen.
These containers have insecticide nets in there, have RDTs, those are the test kits for malaria. And it was planned such that before the rainy season, there are enough bed nets to give protection against malaria.
Now, the Global Fund, a major financier for Ghana's HIV, TB and malaria programs, has been supporting the country with health financing. But ECOWAS, COVID-19 and African Union levies on medical shipments at the port, valued at $3.6 million, have made it impossible for medical supplies to be cleared. Executive Secretary of the Global Coordinating Mechanism in the country, Samuel Hackman, said as of March 26, only 15 out of the 230 containers of essential medicines from the previous supplies stuck at the port were cleared.
By close of the month or mid-April, these things will be cleared in full. But it's very bad because the commodities have shelf life. The national programs need these commodities to function. We don't need to go through this long haul of delays and shortages in the system. We need to be on time. The Global Fund keep asking, when are you taking these things out of the port for the people of Ghana? When a question like that comes, it looks like as a Ghanaian, you don't know what is good for the country.
And you heard that Isaac Ofer, he speaks for the Ministry of Health. Sarah Pinko is our reporter on this bit. She's been following it for us. As soon as we get her, we'll bring you the latest from there. But before that, all is set for the ruling New Patriotic Party to hold its parliamentary primaries ahead of the April 30 by-election. This by-election is as a result of the demise of the MP for the area and Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma. 9 candidates have successfully gone through vetting, waiting to lock horns on the 30th of April. William Evans Income joins us live on the line. So we'll get to William shortly, but let's return to our first story about the drugs stuck at the Tema port. Sarah is now on the line with us. Sarah, we know that you broke the story and you've been following up on it. Bring us up to speed as regards what you know and the expected clearance later today.
Beatrice, rightly so, as you said. This particular medical essentials from the Global Fund had been at the port since May 2023, and they were expected to have been cleared now to be distributed to the health facilities across the country. We understand that initially it was around 430 containers and some had been cleared. In fact, the numbers as to which containers have been cleared, there are some disparities depending on who is speaking to the issue. The ministry tells us that there are only 152 containers currently left to be cleared at the port today, which we are expecting to be done by 2 p.m. Later in the day. We also heard from the CSOs that there are about 263 left to be cleared. So after 2 p.m. when we get to the port, then we would find out the actual number of containers that are left, because the GRA has confirmed that the clearance will be done today, but we don't know if they will be clearing all or part of the essentials to be sent to the cold stores today.
Sarah, I want you to hold on. Earlier we played Hackman, who is Executive Secretary of the Global Coordinating Mechanism in the country. I want us to listen to the Public Relations Officer for the Health Ministry, Isaac Ofer, confirming the clearance later today.
There have been a number of challenges with regards to taxes that are attached to our delivery system. Now, we cannot only say taxes, domestic taxes, but we are talking about ECOWAS levies and all that every country pays. So why is it that Ghana is not able to pay? So what can we do? The issue is to go back to the drawing board, sit down with the stakeholders involved, Ministry of Finance, National Revenue Authority, and then Customs Division. These were number of engagement we've had behind closed doors to ensure that going forward, drugs that we get from donors, not only Global Fund, but even domestic drugs that we may purchase too for our consumptions, should be exempted from some of these challenges. And we are fortunate to say that for now, we've been able to break the neck that no drugs coming in for us in Ghana will have such challenges at the port. And we are assuring Ghanaians that by Friday, those 182 drugs that are being kept at the port will be cleared out.
You heard the spokesperson for the Health Ministry. Sarah is still on the line with us to conclude our conversation. Sarah, this must be some strong assurance for those who are protesting and asking for the drugs to be cleared. Have you heard any word from them yet?
It's so big. In fact, we tried to find out from the ministry what's the way forward for the clearance, and as communicated from Tuesday when we spoke to them, they say that we will be converging at the port at 2 p.m. where the GRA is expected to release the containers out of the port. But what we really would be wanting to find out is the particular agreement currently put in place by government and the various stakeholders with respect to clearance of these essential items from donor funds when it comes into the country, because we are hearing from the ministry that there is an agreement that has been done now, and so these essentials, irrespective of which of the donor partners is coming from, wouldn't have to be stuck at the port for this long again. We would hope to find out the particular agreement in place, whether it's a blanket waiver or some other form of arrangement that have been done so that we do not have to experience this moving forward.
Thank you very much, Sarah Pinkro, giving us live updates on that issue about drugs stuck at the port. Thank you very much, and we wait to see the clearance indeed of those drugs later today. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. Stay with us. So here on the Midday News on 3FM, thank you for staying out. Two major transport unions have described as illegal the arbitrary increase in transport fares by some drivers. The Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council and the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, say that the increment contravenes the administrative instrument on the review. In a statement on Thursday, the unions said that they are still engaging the government on the recent increase in fuel prices and a possible increment in transport fares. It's therefore called on the general public to disregard the arbitrary increment by some industrial players. We know that the GPRTU in the Western region has announced a 20% increment already. Let's find out how that is panning out. Irama Smith joins us live on the phone with some more. Irama, are commuters still paying the 20% extra charge?
Yes, Beatrice, they are still paying the 20% increase. And, you know, they don't have any option. If you are being asked to pay, you have to pay, else you get down. I have also been speaking to the executives of the GPRTU, and they tell us that they have not been officially notified by their national executives. What I can tell you now is they are holding meetings with their smaller unions in the region and will take a decision. They said they will speak to the media around 2 p.m. today.
All right. Thank you very much. Irama Smith bringing us update on the increment of transport fares in the Western region. And as you just heard there will be a meeting this afternoon to see the way forward. Now, Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Ponkroma, has this afternoon bemoaned the slow pace of work on the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project. The initiative, which aims to improve flood risk and solid waste management whilst enhancing access to basic infrastructure and services in flood-prone, low-income communities within the Greater Accra region, according to the minister, has led to deal mainly with two challenges that have resulted in its delay. The first, review process and mechanisms and compensation for the project's affected victims. Noble Crosby Annan joins us live with the latest on this. Crosby, where has the minister been speaking? Give us some more detail.
Well, the minister for...
Hello, Crosby.
Well, the Minister for Works and Housing was addressing all the contractors involved in the Garrett project, which is aimed at improving flood management, flood risk management, as well as solid waste management in the Odo River Basin, as well as access to basic infrastructure within targeted communities along the Odo River Basin. The Minister is mainly concerned about two things. We're talking about the issue of compensation. He's also raised concerns about review processes and mechanisms in the initial frame that was making review processes a little bit difficult because it was a two-step approach for every work before execution. But the good news is that he says that has been dealt with, amended the review of the processes and making it concurrent instead of making it successive. That is, it is able to let contractors go to work as early as possible so that they do what is expected of them. The affected victims move or are moved so that they don't have to go back to these processes and they don't have to do a lot of back and forth with regards to issues of compensation. This is exactly what he says.
So we have to put a human face to it, but we have to be clear that once the compensation is paid, the project affected persons in these areas are moved. And then more importantly, we secure these areas so that we don't have people returning to them to repeat the very things that have caused these water channels to be choked and which then eventually lead to the flooding situation that we're having. So happy to know that compensation is now being resolved, validation being done in some areas. And so when that compensation is paid, and I understand that in the coming weeks we're going to do it, when it is done, let's make sure that the people move, and more importantly, we secure those lots so that people don't return to repeat that one.
Crosby, what more can you tell us about what managers are saying?
Well, the coordinator of the Garrett project, Dr. Kojo Safo, has been explaining the status of work done so far. He says consultancy works are ongoing smoothly, as well as some engineering works. He explains that contracts have already been awarded for a number of the interventions while they work on concluding designs and other remaining works, including the dredging of the Odo, as well as the reconstruction of the Paloma drain, amongst others. Exactly, this is what he says.
Contracts have been awarded for a number of the interventions, even as we also make progress in concluding designs and other remaining works. As we stand, we have awarded contracts for the dredging of the Odo under a new framework called the performance-based contracting approach to dredging. And the contractor is on site and carrying out the dredging activities. We have also awarded a contract for the repairs and widening of the broken sections of the Odo Channel from the Chimoto overhead all the way to the N1 overhead. We have awarded a contract for the reconstruction of the drain from Nima Paloma on the Ring Road all the way to the pedestrian mall outlet or outfall in the Odo Channel.
You heard the Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Ponkroma, and then that report by Crosby Annan. Now, Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Jachikwesin, whose trial was put on hold for him to seek medical attention in Canada, resumes at the Criminal Court 3 of the Accra High Court. James Kwesin has pleaded not guilty to 5 counts of deceit of public officer, forgery of passport or travel certificate, knowingly making a false statutory statement, perjury and false declaration of office. Lord Edwasare is in court and brings us more.
A North Member of Parliament, James Jachikwesin, is back in court today as his trial resumes. At the last hearing, prosecution's third witness, Abubakar Sadiq Yaya, testified that he endorsed the nomination forms of the Member of Parliament at the time he was working at Asin Fosu. He's a judicial service member, and so in the Central Region, when he was working at the time that he submitted the nomination forms, he's the one who endorsed it. Now, today we are expecting that the cross-examination of Sadiq Yaya would continue by Member of Parliament James Jachikwesin's lawyers.
Lord Edwasare there are bringing us details from court. Also from the court, Democracy Hub and 23 others have found documents at the court asking that their case against the IGP for alleged assault during Occupy Julobi protest be readmitted by the High Court. And Accra High Court on Tuesday struck out the case by the group on grounds of prosecution with none of the parties in the case present when the case was called. But the group says that members were not notified of the new hearing date following a rescheduling of the earlier proposed date of April 4. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Don't go away.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba. A freezer. Adama, a craftsmanship. Adama, Metamosua, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia. I do prefer Nobium Unions and last 9. I don't know what we do. Adama for Adna Craftsman who said, yet the Adruba a ship will be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what's ya, no fugum. What the bus here, for your being over you, equity self, over Timono. Then we sure say. Mention Tassia. Nemo sena for no freezer. Power na padi. Freezer.
Tassia. Ebaso do so among. Amoniaji.
Omutina me. Me wasika. Omutina me. Me di me nyina du be so me dum. Adama. Without Adama no kuya. Adama. You can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for edwe bi wo be bibia ye ton kai ho edwu. Afi kayo na kenkan enchoya ewo edre ho.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. Thank you for staying. Let's take you to the Ashanti region, and all is set for the governing New Patriotic Party to hold its parliamentary primaries ahead of the April 30 by-election. This by-election is as a result of the demise of the MP and Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma. 9 candidates have successfully gone through vetting, waiting to lock horns on April 30. William Evans Income joins us live with some more. He joins us from Ejiso. William, obviously all is set, I guess, but give us the vivid picture.
All right, Beatrice. So if you come to the Forestry Commission Training Center, I can tell you that everything is set. Just at the entry point, you see an avalanche of posters bearing pictures of the 9 candidates who will be fighting for the sole ticket going into the April 30 by-election. I mean, if you enter the premises of the center, you see a couple more hanging on trees. I must say that looking at the fact that Ashanti region is experiencing some high degree temperatures in recent times, the venue, perhaps from afar, most appropriate for this particular, exercise, green, and that will provide some level of shelter against the sun rays. So everything is set, Beatrice, for the game, political game, for these 9 candidates tomorrow.
Indeed, and these 9 candidates you talk about are supposed to be wrapping up their campaign tonight. How well are they connecting with delegates?
Guess what, Beatrice? So, last night when I arrived in Kumasi, I decided to spend some time here in Joso constituency, trying to call some of the delegates, wanting to know, just extracting some mundane information from them. And I quite remember one person that I called. He said, Evans, this is certainly not a good time. I'm very busy. And that was around 10 p.m. So you ask yourself, where else or what might have been keeping this particular gentleman busy? Hopping from one candidate to the other because, they're just running up their campaigns, meeting delegates just to be sure that indeed they have a very strong base going into tomorrow's exercise. So it has been a busy, day, even up to today for most candidates and, of course, their delegate as well.
Evans, I know you've been interacting with Nyantechi, who is confident ahead of the vote. I want us to listen to him and we'll come back to continue with our conversation.
Very bright, very, very bright. Very, very bright. If it were a general election, I didn't need to campaign because I think that my name alone, the name identity, pervades throughout. Everybody here, including the old and the young, men and women, everybody has heard about me before. And if it were the general public voting, I wouldn't have any difficulty. But you have a delegates election, an electoral college of just 1,080 delegates. It's too small for you to be too confident of winning all of them. But I believe that the campaign, the record, and the message have been very good.
So that was Kwesi Nyantechi there. He's one of the 9 aspirants contesting in that MPP parliamentary primary tomorrow. William Evans Income is still on the line with us. So William, we're learning that all of John Kuma's billboards and posters have been replaced by other candidates. Can you confirm that for us?
Well, absolutely. So Dr. Evans Zia is now occupying spaces there to were being occupied by the late John Kuma. And it tells you, the fact that indeed he is the family's candidate.
And then we have Adomi. What has he been telling you? We understand that he's granted an exclusive interview, yes.
Adomi, the camp of Adomi has a statement, and they are saying that, they've been providing reasons why Adomi is going independent. And Beatrice, let me just confirm to you that on April 16, Adomi will be picking his nomination form as an independent candidate going into the April 30 Joso by-election. So that's a confirmation there for you. But Adomi's decision to contest as an independent candidate is born out from some concerns that to him he raised with the party, but it does appear that nothing has been done about it. He's talking about irregularities in the lead up to in the conduct of the 2022 polling station executive elections, that he has mentioned that the current album is not credible, and for him, going independent will put the executives on their toes.
We'll see the outcome of that primary tomorrow. Thank you very much, William Evans Income. He's our Northern Bureau Chief and monitoring the elections for us. We stay on elections because the civic duty of voting beckons for every citizen who turns 18, according to the Ghanaian law. In an election year, many Ghanaians will vote for the first time upon attaining that age. Duke Mesopoku in the following report profiles their demographic and expectations.
Participating in an activity to select leaders in a constituency or the country happens periodically in a democracy. Every election cycle, new set of voters join the electoral roll after coming of age. In 2020, 2.6 million first-time voters registered, constituting about 15.5% of the total voter population. It's an election year, and yet again, this important demographic is looking attractive to political suitors. Musa Dankroft polling firm Global Info Analytics explains the relevance of this group of voters in the scheme of things.
First-time voters usually, when they tilt towards your direction, you tend to win. But they provide the little margin that you need to cross over the finish line. For them, it is jobs, it is education and also the economy in general.
Some first-time voters spoke about what factors will influence their voter choice.
There are a whole lot of young people. Some are not in school, some are about to leave school, some have left school, and then they are thinking about their future. And there is the need for political parties, the NDC and the NPP, to actually formulate policies that will address our issue.
I believe that we should also pay attention to the aftermath of every election, where we go critically into details to see that political parties actually pay attention to the message that they send to us before we elect them and not doing otherwise.
Scanning the political landscape, there is a deliberate attempt to bag first-time votes.
Duke Mensah Opoku with that report. Now, former executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Vitus Zim, says it is difficult to believe the Office of the Special Prosecutor can conduct any meaningful investigations into the affairs of the Scholarship Secretariat. The Office of the OSP, after a petition to his office this week, indicated in a statement that there is an ongoing investigation into the award of scholarships to students by the Scholarship Secretariat. Listen to Vitus Zim on his views.
The Office of Special Prosecutor said that they started investigations back as July 2023 because this was not in the public domain. Was it as a result of a petition by an individual citizen, or on its own volition the Special Prosecutor decided to do an investigation? But be as it is, it's good that they started the investigation. What is the interim report? Because if you saw these things, when they say, oh, we are petitioning, they say, oh, we are already working very on it. We've seen that in several government institutions. Oh, we are already working on it. Why was it so silent on this investigation that was ongoing? If it is true that there was actually an investigation. And the other side of it is that this special prosecutor, since they started in 2018, we haven't actually come up with specific outcomes, results of the investigations and successful prosecutions. So it's a bit difficult for us to have confidence in whatever they are doing.
Vitus Zim is an anti-corruption campaigner. Let's bring you this. Now, despite efforts by the Ghana Health Service to achieve widespread vaccination, attaining total herd immunity against major diseases such as COVID-19, tuberculosis and tetanus remains an elusive goal. This is mainly due to rumors and speculations about the safety and the reliability of these vaccines. Wisdom Safo explores the issue of vaccine hesitancy in the country.
The numbers paint a concerning picture. Only 39.2% of Ghanaians are fully vaccinated. The Volta and Eastern regions have the lowest vaccination rates, with only 32.9% and 48.2% fully vaccinated against COVID, tuberculosis, tetanus, among others. The primary issue has been widespread distrust towards vaccines, leading to doubts about their safety and reliability.
Parliamentary say enyam painful bebre no. They say so they to about na say kokko to obi ahwe no TV so no. Yen wo omro say hwe bi ye hu san so ye so e bepene.
Say ya hwe amane na ho na yade ni free bar mo. Omo timi yi ni TV so kire say omo yade no omo nyinya bi na say omo da agogo omo pane omo ho atoya. Me so na wo.
The Food and Drug Authority and the Ghana Health Service have been the major institutions responsible for it.
Wisdom Safo filed that report, and that's how we end the news here on 3FM. Our top stories. Some $40 million worth of medication stuck at Tema Port for nearly a year, expected to be cleared later today. Also, passengers and commuters continue to pay 20% more in transport fares in the Western region, despite a caution from GPRT for no increment. Plus, Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Nkrumah, bemoans slow pace of work on Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily. Don't go away.
Frequency 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, inflation to resume downward trajectory in April 2024. We'll hear from research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Buti.
The CRR adjustment, the policy stance, all of these would have tightened liquidity levels, and we expect these to support the disinflation trend from April going.
Also, in our special Friday feature, we'll tell you how businesses are cashing in as Ghana sees surge in Guinness World Record attempts. My name is Menu Afo. We have details of these and more lined up for you in the next 10 minutes. Do stay with me. And now to our first story. Inflation is expected to begin trending downwards in April, despite the sharp increase recorded in March. According to experts, despite possible threats by the exchange rate and global crude prices, Bank of Ghana's move to tame inflation has proven effective and will result in the resumption of the decline in inflation rates. Lead researcher at GCB Capital, Courage Buti, spoke to 3 Business.
The current price pressures we're seeing from exchange rate, from petroleum prices and all of that, its impact is not as severe as we would have expected on inflation, and it sets the scope for this inflation to resume from April. Generally, that trend will continue. There are risks to the outlook. Exchange rate is still a risk. Petroleum prices is still a risk, and they are lagged impacts. And of course, the second round effect of those price pressures to inflation are all risks that need to be monitored going forward. But that is where the Bank of Ghana's interventions coming. The CRR adjustment, the policy stance, all of these would have tightened liquidity levels, and we expect these to support the disinflation trend from April going. TB yields will be responding to the low demand we are seeing following the CRR adjustment, but not necessarily the increase in inflation.
That was lead researcher at GCB Capital, Courage Buti, on projected downward inflation trend despite the sharp increase recorded in March 2024. And in more stories, economist and professor of finance at University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokwin, has indicated the need for the country to be intentional about growing a taxable economy. He observed what is collected as revenue must be deliberately invested in areas which will drive taxable gross domestic products. Professor Godfred Bokwin noted formalizing the economy through digitalization is the way to go. He, however, says Ghana's growth path does not have the potential to create massive and sustainable jobs.
We have to make sure that the structure itself also changes. So you can see Ghana's missing middle. This data is from the World Bank. Known for agriculture, but of course, with time and following the Asian economic transformation path, we can continue to see that agriculture drives largely our GDP growth. So the transformation path you take through industry and then service. But you can see that we have skipped industry, right? And right now it's service that is driving our GDP. And that service is low quality, actually. And you will see from the disaggregation of the GDP in terms of composition that retail and wholesale commands a bigger share of our GDP, and yet its contribution to tax is very, very what? small. And it's the retail and the wholesale that is driving the service sector. And Ghana is not known for that. So once your industry is low, and this industry has some figures there because of hydrocarbon production and the rest of them, pure manufacturing isn't doing that much. But if you see the contribution of the manufacturing subsector of our economy to tax contribution is very high. So it means that if we invest more and actually create the enabling environment for manufacturing to uptake to increase, then chances are that we can also get more tax revenue.
You heard the voice of economist and professor of finance at University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokwin there. Meanwhile, Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Dr. John Kwache, has blamed the country's economic woes on the underlying structural weaknesses. He noted the over-dependence on imports and exports of mainly raw materials are drawbacks.
It's not just the monetary side, and it's also not just macroeconomic management. By that I mean fiscal policy, monetary policy, and so on. Of course, if you manage your economy prudently, you will probably not end up in the kind of crisis that takes us to the IMF. But I must also say that beyond macroeconomic policy management, we have underlying structural, weaknesses in the economy. And they will, inherently manifest in some of these macroeconomic difficulties. So even if you address the macroeconomic challenges, which will not probably create a crisis that will take you to the IMF, you will still have challenges with the underlying structure of your economy, in the sense that our export concentration is mainly on raw materials. We don't earn much from that. And then we also depend heavily on imports.
And that was Director of Research at IEA, Dr. John Kwache. And on to our special Friday feature. Across the country, there have been several attempts to break new world records in recent times. These endeavors often draw crowds from both near and far, eager to witness the pursuit of historic achievements. Businesses are increasingly capitalizing on the influx of attendees at such events. In this special feature, my colleague Michael Ubudu reports from the latest Guinness World Record Kebabathon attempt.
The forecourt of the Lagos City Mall is usually very quiet and peaceful, but it appears a lot has changed.
He wants to do it for a month. I will be here because business has been so good.
Atinga Nsombila Joel is currently undertaking a Guinness World Record attempt, aiming to achieve an impressive 90-hour barbecue marathon. As he embarks on this 3-day event, crowds are flocking to the Legon City Mall to witness history in the making. For businesses present at the event, the surge in foot traffic translates into lucrative profits.
Because it's Kebabathon, everyone had to empty their stomach. So people are just buying and eating and having fun because there's so much to eat and drink.
We have been overwhelmed because we didn't think of people coming to fill this place. And since morning, people have been here throughout, and you can watch. Even it's about 9 something, but people are here. Oh, if he's going the marathon, we are going to be with him. We are doing the sellathon and the shoeathon.
In addition to vendors profiting from the event, ride-hailing app drivers are also experiencing a surge in demand, shuttling patrons to and from the facility. However, for attendees, it's all about the exhilarating experience.
We are having fun, and we tried the kebab. It's going on well. We have fun. We play some games around, and then everything was nice.
I see you're busy with your kebab.
Oh yes, the kebab is nice, and I'm enjoying it. It is good to be here. I'm having a lot of fun today.
For Joel, this might just be an opportunity to write his name in the books of history. And as many people troop from across the country to support him, it appears to be an opportunity for businesses to cash in. Michael Obodu, 3 Business, Legon City Mall, Accra.
And that was a special Friday feature on how businesses are cashing in as Ghana sees surge in Guinness World Record attempts. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please log on to our website on 3news.com. My name is Minu Afo. Do stay tuned. Black Rasta will be joining you for Urban Blend.